The train. Well, I have to start with my favorite Spider-Man scene. In Spider-Man 2, the city's calm turns into panic when Dr. Octopus attacks a moving train and completely destroys the braking system. The train shoots down the tracks with zero control while the passengers panic as they realize no one can stop it. It feels like disaster is inevitable. But then our hero shows up. In one of the character's best scenes, Peter takes off his mask and starts firing webs, connecting the train to nearby structures, trying to use the city itself as an anchor. Man, when I was a kid, I used to reenact this scene all the time at home. The train doesn't slow down, and Spider-Man tries everything, but nothing works. His arms stretch to the limit, the webs start creaking, buildings begin to crack apart, and the pain is written all over the hero's face. At the very last moment, with one final effort that feels beyond human, the train finally stops, right on the edge before falling. Spider-Man collapses unconscious, caught by the very passengers he saved. When they see the face behind the mask, there's shock, but also respect. Everyone realizes that the great hero was just a kid. They carefully carry him and swear to protect his identity. Seriously, absolute cinema. And we had a similar scene in our next case.
We won't tell nobody.
The ferry. In Spider-Man: Homecoming, Peter Parker arrives at the Staten Island ferry following an illegal weapons deal and believes he can handle everything on his own. The fight starts tight, with the Vulture's goons reacting better than he expected. He even manages to hold them off, but when the Vulture joins the fight, things spiral out of control. In the middle of the chaos, one of the alien weapons fires by accident and unleashes multiple blasts. The ferry's structure starts to groan, metal plates shift, and within seconds the ship begins to split apart. Passengers panic as water starts rushing in through the cracks. Peter looks around and realizes there are no villains to punch right now. The problem is much bigger. He shoots webs in every direction, connects pillars, vehicles, cables, and tries to use his own body to pull everything back together. His arms shake, the suit stretches, and the effort feels impossible. Every second, the ferry splits wider, completely ignoring Spider-Man's strength. And, well, watching them back to back, you can clearly see the reference to the train scene, but here the outcome is different. When failure becomes inevitable, thrusters cut through the sky and Iron Man shows up, not very happy. Tony Stark acts fast, welds the two halves of the ferry together, and stabilizes the situation. In the next scene, he faces Peter with no patience, removes his tech suit, and makes it clear that things went too far.
Okay, it's not working out. I'm gonna need the suit back.
In the end, this helps Spider-Man understand that he's not who he is because of the suit, but because of who he is. I'll admit I wasn't a huge fan of this movie, but every time I rewatch it, I like it more and more. The meeting. While preparing for the final confrontation in Spider-Man: No Way Home, the three Spider-Men are gathered on the Statue of Liberty in a rare moment of calm during the chaos. They analyze the situation, adjust the plan, and assign roles to deal with the villains and send them back to their universes. In the middle of this strategic alignment, the youngest Peter uses the knowledge he gained with the Avengers to coordinate the attacks. Andrew Garfield's Peter then says he loves them and
I love you guys.
right after that, the mood shifts. They split into position, count down, and jump at the same time, each heading toward a different threat, creating one of the most epic scenes in all Spider-Man movies. Iron Spider. Right at the beginning of Avengers, Infinity War, Peter Parker is stuck in the most normal routine possible, sitting on a school bus. Everything changes the moment that familiar alert runs through his entire body. He senses something is wrong before even looking out the window. When he lifts his head, Thanos' massive ship already dominates the city skyline. Without thinking twice, Peter improvises an awkward escape with Ned's help and jumps out of the bus window. In the middle of the fight, he ends up clinging to the alien ship as it starts rising fast. Altitude becomes an immediate problem. The air gets thin, the cold freezes his lungs, and his body starts to shut down. Tony Stark activates a command that sends the iron suit to him. The nanotech spreads like a second metallic skin, fully wrapping Peter and providing oxygen, protection, and stability. And that's how the Iron Spider suit is born in the MCU. Seriously, look at that thing. It's beautiful. Only loses to the TASM-2 suit. Epic rescue. Going back to Spider-Man: Homecoming, a simple school field trip turns into a nightmare when Peter Parker's classmates get trapped at the top of the Washington Monument. Inside the elevator, an alien artifact hidden among the students malfunctions and sends the cabin into a free fall. Panic spreads fast, and there's no one nearby who can reach that height in time. Peter rushes to the scene, puts on the suit, and faces a challenge that could cost lives. The monument's structure is smooth, with no grip at all, and every move demands absolute strength and focus. Even so, he climbs, slips, pushes through, and keeps going as time runs out. When he reaches the top, another problem appears. The window is made of ballistic glass and resists everything he tries. A police helicopter approaches in a threatening way, making the situation even worse. With no other option, Peter makes a risky decision. He jumps onto the helicopter, shoots a web, and uses the momentum to smash through the glass by brute force. Yeah, but it's a great scene in this movie. Once inside, he fires webs to slow the falling elevator, holds the cabin, and tries to keep everyone safe while the danger continues. Little by little, everyone is rescued. When everything seems resolved, Liz slips toward the void, and at the last second, a web stops the tragedy. The Spider Cocoon. In The Amazing Spider-Man from 2012, chaos erupts in a place where it should never happen. Peter Parker's school becomes the scene of an attack when the lizard invades, determined to find Peter Parker. Students panic and try to escape as fast as they can. Peter tells Gwen to leave the school and tries to fight the lizard without the suit. He's thrown against a wall, but he comes back as Spider-Man. The fight continues through the school, with desks breaking, lockers flying, and the lizard using brute force to dominate the space. Gwen shows up and tries to help by hitting the villain with a trophy. Peter reacts quickly, firing webs to bind arms, legs, and eventually wrap the villain completely, like a spider isolating its prey. A curious detail is that this scene was done entirely with CGI, not just the characters, but the school as well, so it could be filmed from angles that would be almost impossible to capture physically. The advantage doesn't last long. In a fast and risky move, Spider-Man grabs Gwen and explains what he's about to do, then pushes her out of the building, firing a web at the same instant to catch her before the fall. The tension keeps spreading through the school, moving through hallways, labs, and even the library, with a quick appearance by the beloved Stan Lee. In the end, the lizard manages to escape, making it clear that this was only a preview of what's still to come. The leap of faith. Near the climax of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Miles Morales finally finds himself alone on top of a skyscraper, staring down into the emptiness below. The city pulses far beneath him as he tries to control his breathing and the fear that locks his body in place. Miles is still trying to understand his identity as a superhero. He remembers what he heard before. Becoming Spider-Man doesn't come with a manual or guarantees, only the need to trust, to take a leap of faith. Miles' mind fills with voices that stayed with him along the way. When he finally acts, it's not calm. Miles throws himself off the building in a move that's more aggressive than graceful. His body drops, the air cuts across his face, and fear explodes. Then something changes. Instead of falling, he starts swinging between the buildings and the city, feeling control for the first time. The music kicks in hard, matching every movement. Miles stops looking like someone running away and starts looking like someone who's finally arrived where he was meant to be. He finally seems to understand what it means to be Spider-Man. Self-made strength. In Spider-Man: Homecoming, everything literally comes crashing down when Peter Parker follows the Vulture into a warehouse on the verge of collapse. The structure was already unstable, and it only takes one mistake for the concrete and metal to finally give way. In seconds, Peter is buried under a mountain of debris. Trapped in the dark, with no support and without the tech suit that used to guide him. The silence feels as heavy as the rubble itself. He tries to move, strains his arms, but nothing gives. Panic hits hard. His breathing speeds up, his voice cracks, and tears show up without warning. For the first time, there's no one to help, no smart system giving instructions. Just him, alone, crushed by his own fear. In the middle of that despair, Peter sees his distorted reflection in a puddle of water next to the mask. That's when he understands his calling there. The words he once heard from Tony Stark about earning the suit come back.
If you're nothing without this suit, then you shouldn't have it.
Not as a scolding, but as a challenge. He realizes it was never about what he wears, but about who he is. The change happens slowly, but it's real. Peter takes a deep breath, talks to himself, gathers everything he has left, and starts pushing. The weight doesn't disappear, the pain doesn't go away, but he keeps going. Little by little, the debris starts to move. What many people don't know is that this scene is a direct reference to the comic, The Amazing Spider-Man number 33, Saving Spider-Sense. At the end of Spider-Man, the fight between Peter Parker and the Green Goblin reaches a point of no return. The battle is physical, brutal, with no room for tricks, ending among the wreckage, with Mary Jane in danger and Peter pushed beyond his limit. When he finally overpowers the villain, the rage is obvious. For a few seconds, it feels like Peter might cross a line there's no coming back from. That's when Norman Osborn reappears from behind the mask. His posture changes, his voice loses its aggression, and he tries to separate himself from the monstrous figure that took over his life. He asks Peter for compassion, and Peter hesitates. but still remembers everything the Green Goblin had done. Osborn tries to play on emotion, saying he was like a father to Peter. That brief moment of compassion opens the door to betrayal. The Green Goblin's glider moves silently behind them after being activated. The blade advances with deadly intent, but the warning comes in time. Peter jumps on instinct, and the attack continues forward with no control. The impact is sharp and final. Norman is struck by his own instrument of violence. The look that remains isn't hatred, but shock and regret. Before dying, he asks Peter not to tell Harry anything.
Don't tell Harry.
The debut. In Captain America: Civil War, the airport battle is already in full swing when Captain America's team starts executing their escape plan. That's when Iron Man's team arrives. Tony Stark tries to talk to Cap, but the conversation goes nowhere. He gets fed up and shouts for the kid to get in. Out of nowhere, a web snatches Captain America's shield out of the air and pulls it away with ridiculous ease. Then a red and blue figure shows up that no one there fully recognizes. It's the first time we see your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. At the time, this scene was pure insanity. The reaction started even before the movie hit theaters, back when it appeared in the trailer, because it symbolized something fans had been waiting for years to see. It was the official arrival of a deeply beloved character into the MCU after a long and complicated negotiation with Sony, which had acquired the Spider-Man rights back in the 90s. Finally, the webhead was free to be part of the MCU. Spider-Man introduces himself in an almost too casual way for a battlefield packed with legends. He talks nonstop, shows genuine excitement, and seems to be having fun while everyone else is taking that war very seriously.
Big fan of Spider-Man.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later. Just,
Hey everyone.
good job.
The dark suit. In Spider-Man 3, the transformation begins quietly, almost imperceptibly during a heavy, stormy night. While Peter Parker sleeps in his small apartment, something strange moves across the floor, coming from the fallen meteor. The symbiote finds its target without rushing. It spreads over the Spider-Man suit Peter is still wearing in bed, molding itself to the fabric as if it had always belonged there. The dark matter covers everything, replacing the traditional red with a deep, elegant, unsettling black. The awakening doesn't happen in the bedroom. Peter wakes up confused, feeling the wind hit his face, hanging upside down from a city skyscraper. The shock is immediate. He looks at his own hands, notices the new suit, and tries to understand how he got there. Every movement feels different. There's an energy pulsing under his skin, mixed with an aggressive confidence that wasn't there before. Without fully realizing the impact of it, Peter tests his body, leaps into the air, and starts swinging through the city with unusual intensity. It's not just a new suit. It's the beginning of a change he doesn't yet understand. An interesting fact is that the black suit worn by Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man 3 wasn't CGI, not even in the action scenes. The on-screen symbiote was a physical latex suit, extremely tight, coated with urethane to create the shine and living look. That realism came at a cost. The material was so rigid that Tobey needed help from the costume team to put it on and take it off, making the process uncomfortable during filming. Final push. At the end of The Amazing Spider-Man 2, the city is still recovering from the chaos when Alexei Sitsevich reappears in a completely unexpected way. The criminal who seemed like just another guy at the start of the movie now shows up inside a massive robotic rhino-shaped armor, armored and built to destroy everything in its path. Rhino charges through the streets, smashing cars, ignoring gunfire, and turning the fight into a spectacle of desperation. The police try to contain the threat, but nothing really works. That's when the scene shifts in tone. In the middle of the chaos, a little boy dressed as Spider-Man, wearing a simple homemade suit, crosses the crowd and stops right in front of the villain. He puts on the mask, imitating the hero who disappeared from the city. Rhino toys with the kid, but everyone notices something approaching from the sky. That's the moment Peter Parker reappears. After a heavy period of mourning following Gwen's death, he puts the suit back on and shows up at the very last second. Peter talks to the boy, praises his courage, and asks him to go back to his mom. Then he grabs a megaphone, tells Rhino to surrender, but Rhino refuses and challenges him to fight. The screen cuts to black right as the two are about to collide, making it clear that Spider-Man has finally returned. Yeah, unfortunately, we'll never know what happened after that. Seriously, I really like this movie's ending. Bold insect. During the fight on Titan in Avengers: Infinity War, our beloved webhead faces Thanos in an epic battle. Doctor Strange throws his cloak onto the gauntlet, and Peter jumps into the attack. The battlefield keeps shifting thanks to the portal Strange opens. Peter appears from impossible angles, showing up from behind, above, and from the sides, using every opening as an offensive springboard. Peter keeps talking while he fights, holding onto his humor in the middle of the battle. For a moment, the combination of agility and strategy seems to work. Thanos is even pulled off balance, clearly irritated by the persistence of an opponent far too small for what he represents. The response is quick. Peter is easily grabbed by the neck and even gets called an insect. The power difference is made clear when he's thrown far away, crashing into Doctor Strange and ending that bold attempt. Chosen price. At the end of Spider-Man, the mood shifts completely after Norman Osborn's death. At the funeral, everything is silent and heavy, while Harry swears revenge against the hero at his father's grave. Peter Parker then goes to his uncle's grave, carrying a guilt no one there could ever imagine. Mary Jane approaches and finally opens up, explaining that facing death made her realize he was the man she truly loved. The moment is intimate, vulnerable, and real. They kiss, and for a few seconds it feels like everything could work out. Peter knows he wants to stay, but he understands that it would come at too high a cost for her. Carefully, he chooses to walk away, saying they can only be friends. There's no anger there, just frustration and a broken heart that's clear in her eyes. Mary Jane is devastated, not understanding the rejection. Peter leaves the cemetery knowing he gave up what he wanted most. And Peter's narration then comes in, reflecting on how that life is both a gift and a curse, and that with great power comes great responsibility. The ending of this movie is hard to explain. I didn't understand the weight of that decision when I was a kid, and watching it now only shows how good Sam Raimi's Spider-Man really is.
With great power comes great responsibility. This is my gift.
On screen, there's a video showing all the times Spider-Man's identity was revealed. Click and watch. See you there.